We're going to be in the book of Jeremiah. This is a very common verse. We're going to be in Jeremiah, the 29th chapter, the 11th verse. A very particular verse that we hear around this time of the year, and we hear a lot. And it's even taken out of context. We're going to talk about that shortly. Jeremiah 29:11, you will see it on the screen. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to do what? Prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Yeah, let me read that again. We feel that one right there. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. My subject this morning is still according to plan. Still according to plan. Even when life feels chaotic, even when life doesn't go according to our plan, God is still working according to his. Someone say still according to plan. All right, so we have a habit, we could be honest, we have a habit of pulling verses out of context. Two of the most common ones are Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then this one, Jeremiah 29:11. This is one of the most highlighted verses throughout script in modern scripture. It sits at the top of the most shared and the most quoted of verses in the Bible. We love this verse. We put it on graduation cards. You see it on social media. We put it under a caption when we step into a new season and need some encouragement. Jeremiah 29:11. We read it like a guarantee that God's plan is always comfort, always ease, and immediate breakthrough, as if God is saying, I'm about to remove every obstacle, upgrade your life, and move you into non-stop success. We've shaped this verse into a kind of quote-unquote American dream theology where God's will for us is assumed to mean upward mobility, constant progress, and minimal pain. But that's not what God is saying. What is God actually saying? If you look at the actual blueprint of this verse wasn't dropped on a graduation card. It was spoken into a crisis. Jeremiah 29:11 comes in the middle of exile. God is speaking to people who have been taken from their homes. The people of Judah were taken in chains and exiled to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. They are not celebrating a new season. They are grieving a loss. So these people are broken, disoriented, and desperate for an escape clause. Anybody in this room ever been desperate for an escape? And just before this verse, God gives them a timeline. If you study the context of this text, God says, you're going to be there for 70 years. Do the math. For most of the people hearing that prophecy, that wasn't a temporary setback. That was a lifetime sentence. Many of them will live and die in captivity. They will never return home. So many of the original hearers of this prophecy never saw the fulfillment of what we now quote so freely. So when we isolate this text from its context, we turn this letter written to traumatized, displaced community into a private promise of immediate prosperity. But, someone say, but, when we put this verse back into its context, it stops being a promise of instant relief and becomes something far deeper. It becomes a word of divine sustainability. Yes, so God is looking at the people who wants an exit strategy and says, unpack your bags, build houses, plant gardens, multiply. Don't just survive where you at, learn how to flourish where you at. Because my plan for you is to not first change your geography. My plan for you is to sustain your soul right where you are. And I believe that's a word for somebody in-house and online. That's a word. Some of you want God to take it away. Some of you are praying for removal, praying for escape, praying for a quick exit, praying for a sudden change of scenery. But God is saying, I'm not always going to take it away. I'm going to sustain you in it. You want to leave, but God say, unpack your bags. Because you're going to be right here for a while. So you might as well learn how to flourish right where you are. Because he is a sustainer. Anybody know God is a sustainer? When you know that he's a sustainer and you believe he's a sustainer, that changes everything. Because some of us are sitting here right now as living proof of sustaining grace. Some of you are sitting here right now, in-house and online, living proof on how he can sustain someone. You're still here right now because he sustained you. You made it through what should have broken you because he sustained you. You don't even look like what you've been through because he sustained you. You don't look like anxiety tried to take you out. You don't look like depression had a hold of you. You don't look like the fire that tried to get you. You don't look like the pressure you were under. You don't look like the weight that you was carrying. You don't look like what you've been through because God has sustained you. You don't look divorced. You don't look laid off. You don't look exhausted. You don't look anxious. You don't look like the season you just survived. Why? Because God sustained you. If he sustained you, give him praise. Give him praise on how he maintained you, supported you, and kept you through what you was going through. You don't look like what you've been through because God sustained you. And people don't even know what all you going through. But by the grace of God, he been keeping you. So this is a letter written to the exiles in Babylon. Babylon is more than an ancient city. Babylon, as we read it, it's a representation of a season in our life. Babylon is anywhere where you are stuck in a situation where that you didn't choose, facing a timeline you cannot control. You didn't choose what you're going through, and there's a timeline you cannot control. You're waiting for something to finally shift, but you're waiting a long time. And the timeline is out of your hands. And in this type of season, you catch yourself trying to make it make sense. You ever catch yourself in a season trying to make it make sense? Because when the diagnosis stays chronic, when the toxic job doesn't change, when what you've been waiting on stretches from days into weeks, into months, into years, you start feeling like something went wrong. Like, God, I didn't sign up for this package. So you start trying to make it make sense. Now, here's the danger of trying to make it make sense. You become vulnerable to false prophets. You start becoming vulnerable to voices that only tell us what we want to hear. And that's what's exactly happening in the verses before this text. God warned them to not listen to the false prophets who were feeding them what they wanted to hear, to feeding them comfort without truth, feeding them what their itching ears wanted to hear. And when you're in Babylon long enough, even a comforting lie can start to sound like hope. And you become bamboozled by false prophets. Jump 3 times and you're going to get a immediate breakthrough. Sow this seed and turn around 4 times and God going to heal your body. And we end up throwing money. We end up looking like a fool because we immediately want to get out of where God has us. And here's the thing, sometimes it is true that God can work in different ways. God can heal and move differently. But we also serve a God that will leave you where you at, so that you have no choice but to depend on him. So all this false prophecy going on to the people of Judah, because they don't want no 70 years. They want to get out of it. But God steps in, and that's when he shatters the noise. For I know the plans I have for you. They don't know my plan. They can guess it. They can try to figure out, but I know. Someone say he know. I know the plans I have for you. This is not a guessing statement. It is not speculation. It's not advice. That right there is certainty. Notice what God said. He doesn't say, I'm trying to figure this out. He doesn't say, let me consult the situation and see what's going on. He doesn't say, give me time so I can see how this unfolds. He says, I know. Someone say, I know. He said, I know. Not I hope, but I know. Not I think, but I know. And while people around you are guessing, God is certain. While other people are reacting, God is already established. While others are trying to interpret your season and what you're going through, God authored it. So they trying to figure out something that God authored. So God is not observing your life from a distance, trying to make it, trying to understand it. He is the one who wrote the season. He's the one who authored the season. He's the one that owned the season. And since he owned it, since he authored it, since he wrote it, he know it. For I know the plans. Now let's go deeper. The Hebrew word here for know is yada. Someone say yada. And in our Western mindset, know means information. It's something you can test and approve. How teachers test if you know the information, they give you a test. It's because that's what our Western mindset know means information. But in ancient scriptures, yada is deeper than knowledge. It's covenantal intimacy. It's the same kind of knowing used to describe deep relational union, commitment, and oneness. It carries the idea of closeness. It carries the idea of attachment. It carries the idea of unwavering connection. So God is not saying, I have information about your life. He is saying, I am deeply, personally, and faithfully committed to your life. Don't that sound good? How God is deeply, personally, and faithfully committed to your life. People may back out. Systems may fail you. Even you might give up on yourself. You ever gave up on yourself before? But God is still committed. He's committed to you. He's committed to your healing. He's committed to your growth. He's committed to your becoming. He is just not present in your story. He's committed to finishing it. Oh, he's committed to you. Even when you give up on yourself, God is still committed to you. Even when you beat yourself up, God is still committed to you. Even when you hate yourself, God is still committed to you. Someone say, he's committed to me. And how can we be so sure that God knows the plan? How can we be so sure that God knows what we're going through? And here's the answer to that, because he knew you before the path ever existed. The same book, if you go back to the beginning, in Jeremiah 1:5, God used the same word, no, yada, when he calls the prophet. He said, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I what? Knew you. So in chapter 1, his knowledge is personal. He knows the person. In chapter 29, his knowledge is strategic. He knows the path. So God doesn't just know who you are, he knows where you are going. Oh, he knows you. He knows where you're going, which means nothing about your story caught him off guard. Oh, because he just didn't design you, but he designed your story. Nebuchadnezzar didn't surprise God when he took the people of Judah into captivity. Your crisis didn't slip past God's awareness. Your Babylon didn't bypass his divine planning. God didn't just orchestrate and plan your beginning. He factored your middle into design. So even this season is not outside what he already accounted for. Don't it feel good to know? Even what you're going through, he took that into consideration. Now, I don't like that he took it, but he took it into consideration. That's the beauty on how God works. That's the beauty on how our Creator creates. In the hidden dark of the womb, God was forming you, knitting your DNA. The Bible said in the 139th Psalm, you knit me together in my mother's womb. So that means every strand, every trait, every heartbeat was intentionally and carefully placed. That means he intentionally and knitted your DNA, your personality, your quirks, your heartbeat all together. But when he was forming you in your mother's womb, his hand didn't stop moving when you were born. So the same hands that knitted you in your mother's womb is the same hands that's weaving your life together. Oh, so he just informed your biology. He is weaving your circumstances in your Babylon season in exile, because the Hebrew word for plans means to weave, design, to calculate, like a master craftsman forming a tapestry. Who's familiar with one of those? Can you put a picture of one of those on a screen for me? What we see, so what we normally look at is the back of the fabric. The back represents seasons of hardship, grief, and confusion. So from the back, our circumstances often look tangled and random, yet they are actively contributing to the overall design. So what we see, it look like knots. It look like frayed edges. It looks like confusion. It look like pieces that don't belong together. So when we look at it, we look at a mistake. Oh, but God, I'm so happy that God doesn't sit where we sit. I'm so happy that God doesn't look bottom up. He looks top down. And so we look at the underside, but God is looking at the top. And the top represents the moments of life that make sense. It's beautiful patterns, it's achievements, it's visible plans. So he is seeing it from above. He sees the full design while we only see the underside. Thank you for y'all putting that up. So while we only see the underside. So just know when you in your Babylon season, just know he is still weaving. Someone say he's still weaving. He's taking the threads of grief. He's taking the threads of waiting. He's taking the threads of grief, and he is forming something intentional out of it. So even in crisis, even in exile, even now, all things are being worked together. All things are being worked together. He is still weaving. Just know God is still weaving. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't get upset, because God is still weaving. He hasn't dropped the thread. He is still weaving. He hasn't stepped away from the loom. He is still weaving. He hasn't abandoned the design. God has not abandoned you. He is still weaving your story together. He is still writing your story together. So even when it feels like nothing is happening, God is working. Oh, yeah, I may not see it, I may not feel it, but I know that he's up to something. So hold on. Encourage someone next to you and say, hold on. Because what looks scattered right now is going to make sense later. It makes sense in the hands of God. It may not make sense to Pastor Nick, but it makes sense to God. It may not make sense to your mama and daddy, but it makes sense to God. Your life is not falling apart. It's coming together. If you truly believe it's coming together, give him praise right there. He is still weaving your life. What we see is the underside. God sees the top side. Now let's look closely at what this woven plan is actually designed to produce, because this is where graduation cards and us and everybody get it completely wrong. Remember, as that picture we saw the underside, which is the frayed edges and look messy, but we saw the top side, which is the beautiful design, the finished product. And here's the thing, when the Bible says, when God says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to what? Prosper you and not to harm you. Now, when our modern ears hear the word prosper, we get excited. We immediately shrink it down to comfort language. We think financial upgrades. Hallelujah. We think career acceleration. We think a pain-free life. We think God is about to remove every struggle, cancel every enemy, and hand us uninterrupted success. But false prophets will have you shouting and believing that that's all that God is going to do. But this text shows us that God will put you somewhere just to sustain you, because let the context of the text speak for itself, because the original audience was not in comfort. They were prisoners of war, so they were living in exile. So if the word prosper means ease, luxury, and instant relief, then the promise doesn't match their reality. So what does it actually mean? The Hebrew word behind prosper means shalom. And we familiar with that word, shalom. Someone say shalom. And we often translate shalom as simply peace, meaning the absence of conflict. But in the ancient sense, shalom is not just peace without pressure, it's wholeness under pressure. So it's not just peace, it's wholeness. Someone say wholeness. It means to be complete. Wholeness. It means to be intact. It means to be restored. It's not the absence of trouble. It's the presence of wholeness within it. It's a life so anchored internally that external conditions cannot break it. Someone say, I want to be whole. God's plan for your life is not primarily a promise of material wealth. It's a promise of spiritual weight. So what does it mean when God says, I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you? It does not mean you're exempt from the hospital room, but it does mean you have peace in the hospital room. It does not mean your bank account will always overflow, but it does mean your soul can still be full when the resources run low. It does not mean your circumstances will be perfect, but it does mean your identity is perfectly secure in Christ. Somebody say, I want to be whole. Because I've learned you can have money and not be whole. I've learned you can have success and not be whole. I've learned you can have nice things and still be broken on the inside. Matter of fact, sometimes the want for nice things is a cover-up for the brokenness on the inside of you. And so he says, I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you. The heavy season you are walking through is not driven by divine malice. God ain't being mean. Discipline is not destruction. Healthy discipline is not destruction. Because I know some people traumatized by some stuff growing up. God was stripping away their dependence on a physical temple and political kingdom so that they can discover that true shalom is not tied to a place. It's tied to his presence. Because if your wholeness is tied to a place, then when that place is no longer there, you're no longer whole. But if your wholeness is connected to God, no matter what you're going through, you are still whole. No matter what you're going through, you still have peace. God does not always remove the storm, but he will transform the person inside of it. So all of this is leading somewhere. He said, for I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to what? To give you hope and a future. Or someone say a future and a hope. Now, just like the word prosper, our modern ears have softened this phrase into something shallow. A lot of times we hear that and think it means everything is going to work out the way we want it to work out, right when we want it to work out. But if you are mature in faith, you know that is false. We think it means the struggle is about to end quickly. The problem is about to disappear. The answer is coming next week. But that's not what God is saying here. Remember, he is talking to people who have been in exile for a long time. They're going to be in exile for 70 years. Many of them will never make it back home. Some of them died still waiting. So how do you give somebody a future and a hope if they never see the outcome they've been waiting for? God is showing all of us something deeper. A future and hope doesn't mean what happens to you right now. It means that what God is doing through your life is bigger than you. Someone say it's bigger than me. Your life is not just about this moment. It's part of something bigger God is building. It does not mean you're not going to see every promise fulfilled in your lifetime. But it does mean your faithfulness is building a legacy beyond your lifetime. Your faithfulness is help shaping your children. Your faithfulness is help shaping your grandchildren. Your faithfulness is help shaping your great-grandchildren. Your faithfulness is building a legacy beyond your lifetime. I'm proof right here. So he says, I'm going to give you plans to give you a future and to give you a future and hope. It does not mean you're going to see every promise fulfilled, but he is saying that what you're going through is helping shape the generations coming after you. It doesn't mean you're going to like it, but it's doing something. Your life is bigger than you. We all need to understand that our life is bigger than us. He said to give you a future and a hope. And now, we good? The standard and most common Hebrew word for hope is tikva. Someone say tikva. And all this is important because, again, this verse is historically taken out of context. So it is the Hebrew word for hope is deeply connected to expectation, active waiting, and even have roots that visually translate to a cord or a rope. Something that something tangible you can cling to during uncertain times. So it shows us that hope is not just a feeling. It's something you can hold on to. It's like a rope you grab onto when everything feels shaky. It keeps you connected to God even when things do not make sense. So what does it mean for us? It means your story is not over in your struggle. It means your pain is not the end of your story. It means if things don't change overnight, God is still taking you somewhere. It means your faithfulness today matters more than you realize tomorrow. Babylon doesn't get the last word. God does. Your situation doesn't get the last word. God does. And he already decided your ending is not defeat, it's hope. Someone say hope. So even if I don't see everything I'm believing for right now, I can still have something to hold on to. Even if the situation hasn't changed, I still have something to hold on to. And what I have to hold on to is hope. Someone say hope. You can take the money, give me hope. Hope is faith is the substance of what things hoped for. And somebody ought to feel that right now, because hope is not just me wishing it gets better. Hope is me knowing God is still involved. And as long as God is still involved, there is still time for him to turn the situation around. Hope is me crying and still saying, God is not finished with me yet. Do anybody believe that God is not finished with me yet? He's still working. And I don't know who need to hear this, but you did not come this far just to fall apart right here. You did not come this far to throw in the towel. You did not come this far to fall apart. Encourage someone next to you, say, don't fall apart. Don't fall apart. If God brought you into it, he will bring you through it. If he led you there, he will lead you there. And if he keep you there, he will sustain you there. So I need you to hear me, because if he is still writing your story, then I still have a reason to praise him. The fact that you're alive right now is proof that he's still working on you. He's still developing you. He is still shaping you. I may not see it yet, but I still trust him. I may not feel it yet, but I still trust him. And if he said I have a future and hope, then I believe and I trust that I still have a future and hope. I refuse to act like what I'm going through is my final chapter. Somebody give him praise if you believe your story is still being written, because it is. And he is faithful to finish what he started. God didn't send this word so that we can to tell us the storm is going to end in 5 minutes. I know that sounds good. I know it feels good. I know it scratches our itching ear. But he sent this word to remind us that our story still has an ending, even if it's in his hands. So your story is in the hands of God. This is not a promise of an easy path, but it's a promise of a secure outcome. So yes, you may still be in the storm. Yes, you may still be in the waiting. Yes, you may still be in the pressure, but you are not without hope. Everything is still going according to plan. I have plans for you, plans to prosper you and not to give you hope and a future. My plan for you is going to give you some rope that you can hold on to when things get a little rocky, when things get a little shaky. You have a cord that is anchored in the character of God. And there's nothing like the character of God, knowing that he's amazing, knowing that he's a healer, he's a waymaker, he's a protector, he's a strong tower, he's a provider. When you are anchored in the character of God, no matter things can try to pull on you, things can try to tug on you, but you still connected to God. Oh, hope can hold you when your strength can't hold you. Hope, a promise will keep you steady when everything around you feels unstable. People are, how you still sane right now? It's a miracle. How you still smiling right now? It's a miracle. Yes, it's a miracle that for God to bring you out, but it's also a miracle for God to keep you there and sustain you in it. So now you're able to smile in the pressure. You're able to smile in the trial. You're able to kick up your feet and take off your shoes and relax and everything in the fire, because you know God got me. Do you believe God got you? You believe the plan is still going according to his? So don't let go in the middle of it. Don't quit in the middle of it. Don't define your life by what you're currently walking through. It's just a chapter. Someone say, it's just a chapter. It's just a chapter. God's still writing my story. I may not be pleasant right now, but I'm just going through a funny chapter. You've seen some good people just have a little chapter in their life where they're just hard to deal with. The same God who knows the plan is the same God who will finish the plan. And if he already decided the ending, it's not defeat, it's not destruction, it's not despair, but with a future and a hope. And so every day we should give him praise, not because everything is easy, but because everything is in his hands and still going according to plan. Can we give God praise for that word?